Hey, what's going on guys? Chris here for another round of interesting facts and stuff you might not know about. And in this video, I'll be focusing on Battlefield Hardline. Battlefield Hardline tries something a little bit different to your typical Battlefield game and throws the concepts of cops and robbers into the mix. But believe it or not, Battlefield Hardline was actually the first game that was on DICE's minds before all of the other Battlefield games. Not in the form of Hardline, but in the form of another game called Urban Combat. Urban Combat was a game that was being developed back sometime around 2001, which related to the Battlefield series, which by the way hadn't even started yet. It focused on the idea of cops and robbers, just like Hardline. Though DICE made some early prototypes, they just couldn't get the whole theme right, and decided to cancel further development on it. They then went on to make Battlefield 1942, and the Battlefield series. Now fast forward to the year of 2011, and the idea of Urban Combat sprung to mind at an EA meeting when the heads of Visceral Games and DICE discussed the ideas for a new Battlefield game, and how they could take it into a slightly alternate direction than the last games. From this meeting, Urban Combat was revived in its new form, Battlefield Hardline, as the developers now had the capabilities to create a cops and robbers themed game. Although we all know the game well as Battlefield Hardline, it actually wasn't always called this. Developers referred to the game not as Hardline, but with other names through the development cycle such as Omaha and Havana. In fact, Battlefield Hardline is still called Battlefield Havana in the game files. And when the game got leaked back in 2014, Battlefield Hardline was still known as Omaha on the leaked videos. Visceral said that the footage was 6 months old, but this still means that 6 months before the leaked videos were found, Hardline was still known as Omaha and could probably have been released under that title. Now, if you're a fan of Battlefield 4 and played it for some time after the closed beta for Battlefield Hardline, you might have noticed a mysterious, unique dog tag pop up called the 4th Floor dog tag. And at the time, it probably made you think to yourself, where the hell did that come from? Well, if you so much as registered to be in the closed beta for Battlefield Hardline, you were automatically given one of these dog tags to use in Battlefield 4. Now you still might be wondering what the dog tag is, as it looks a lot different to your standard metal ones. Well, I can actually say that it's not a dog tag at all. It's something known as a Common Access Card, or CAC, which is basically a military ID card that normally provides access to buildings, controlled areas, defense computer networks, and computer systems. But why is the dog tag called the 4th floor, you might ask? Well, Visceral Studios is actually located on the 4th floor of the EA Redwood Shores studio building in Redwood City, California. As you probably already know, Visceral Games, the team that made Battlefield Hardline, also created the Dead Space series. And as you can tell, they're both pretty different from each other. One's a cops and robbers shooter, styled as a Battlefield game, and the other has you blasting your way through waves of undead space zombies. I'll let you figure out which is which. Now of course, DICE was probably a bit skeptical about handing over their beloved franchise over to another team, especially to one that hasn't really had much experience with first-person shooters, or Battlefield in general for that matter. So it's a bit of a test to see whether they'd be ready to take on the challenge, and as a bit of a lesson too. DICE gave Visceral the responsibility of developing Battlefield 3's Endgame DLC to show the worth and what they could bring to the table. Because of Endgame's success, Visceral were given the green light to develop Hardline, giving DICE the time to work on Star Wars Battlefront in the meantime. Nobody wants to stand around doing nothing when they could be shooting stuff to pieces, and so the elevators are pretty damn quick in Battlefield Hardline. A hell of a lot quicker than in real life anyway. In real life, a normal lift only travels at about 1 meter per second, but there are elevators out there that can travel at Battlefield speeds, if not faster. In the Shanghai Tower, elevators can travel at up to 18 meters per second, and there's even lifts that are being manufactured that can travel even quicker, up to 20 meters per second. This is 20 times quicker than the standard one. Anyway, back onto Battlefield. If you go to one of the many lifts in the game, look at the buttons inside. Remember what I said before about Visceral Games being located on the 4th floor? Well, they've gone and stuck a nice little reference to that right here, with the skull logo next to the 4th floor button. The Battlefield franchise is a very big franchise indeed, but they've also got a huge competitor that loves to show up in November every year and take over the gaming world. This competition comes in the form of Call of Duty. In the 2014 title Advanced Warfare, there was a specific moment in the campaign that totally killed all emotional aspects of an otherwise emotional scene, in the form of a dumb button press. If you play the campaign, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The player is asked to pay their respects with a button press at a friend's funeral, God knows why this was put in the game, probably just to make you interact with the scene, but most people found it to be more comical than sad. Battlefield, being Call of Duty's main competitor, found this to be a perfect opportunity to take the piss. In the mission Sovereign Land, just after you've been shot at by some guys in trucks, there's a rundown building opposite the road. Right next to this is a buried body. If you go over to it, you'll have the option to pay your respects, just like in Advanced Warfare. Battlefield Hardline might be trying quite a few new things and exploring uncharted territory in the Battlefield series. Another thing that you probably didn't even notice is the main character you play as through the campaign, Nick Mendoza. He actually speaks. This might not sound like a big deal, but the fact is that main characters never speak in Battlefield games. Not full sentences anyway. This is the first time the playable protagonist has a voice, and he actually speaks quite a lot. In a later episode called Glass Houses, you have to sneak around a mansion once the power's back on. Carefully head over to the gym on the far side of the house on the bottom floor, and you'll find a hidden button on the right on the wall as you go in. Press this and the wall will open up. A secret room will appear that you can enter, with video surveillance screens from cameras all around the house and all sorts of other secret things. You'll also unlock yourself a nice little trophy or achievement if you do this. So if you're someone who likes hunting for them, there's an extra one for your collection. But just remember to do it when the power comes back on. So guys, that's all I've got for you in this one. So if you learned a thing or two in this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel to see loads more cool, interesting and helpful stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.